I want to see it spent effectively. I want to see people enjoying being at work. I want to see maturity in the engagement between owner and get what you want, get what you're after, get what you're really striving for or aiming for. If you want something, you've got to be looking after, Sydney Water's 3 elements of the business plan. Be a successful business, 1. Number 2, look after the environment. And 3,
Australia is entering one of the most demanding delivery periods in its history. Yet productivity is slipping and old procurement habits continue to slow projects across the country. Teams are drowning in unnecessary work, tender cycles stretch for months, and adversarial contracting still shapes behaviour in ways that drain time, cost, and confidence from major programs. This is the real threat to the infrastructure pipeline. Few leaders have confronted these challenges at scale the way Mark has. Across 3 decades, he has rebuilt programs weighed down by inefficiency and fear-based decision-making. He has shown how early contractor involvement removes waste before it begins, how co-located commercial teams eliminate rework, and how standardised contracts cut months out of procurement. His work demonstrates that collaboration is not theory. It is the strongest lever in Australia for lifting productivity right now. In this episode, Mark lays out the themes that matter most, how shared KPIs and aligned behaviour accelerate delivery, how cultural clarity transforms engagement and reduces turnover, and how governance becomes an enabler instead of a barrier. These are the levers leaders can now pull to deliver with clarity and certainty. Welcome to the Building Doors podcast. Okay, so what I always love to start with and get a feel for is where it all started from for you, because yes, we'll talk around your career and some of the issues around collaboration and things we can be doing, but I want to know, why did you pick this career?
It's a weird old journey.
I love weird old journeys. Sometimes they're the best ones.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, originally I started in the British Army. Mm-hmm. So joined the Army back in 87. And then, after 4 years and a couple of tours of duty, and I spent my time in Germany as well. Mm-hmm. And as part of the Gulf War I, so storming Norman, the invasion of Iraq and what have you.
Oh, wow.
I left the army and went to university and chose geology as something to go and do. And that was a great choice for me. Ended up doing a master's, so specialised in hydrogeology. And that took me to Africa. So I went to Nigeria for a couple of years. So I was working out there. It's a bit like Miami Vice. It was speedboats through the mangrove swamps, helicopters into the rainforest.
Well, that sounds fun.
Yeah, I know. Really, really terrific way to start your career. And, that was going really well. But I decided at the time was to go back to the UK, ended up joining Thames Water, and I joined the groundwater team as part of a hydrogeologist in that group there. And again, I had some really, really great experiences working for the Queen in Buckingham Palace, drilling a borehole for her there, so by royal appointment.
Oh, that's great.
And, yeah, it was really cool. And then the Millennium Dome, so that was a big dome that was being built for the 2000. Mm-hmm. So I was part of the team working there as well, doing recycled water schemes. And it was during that period that I really got sort of interested in project delivery. Being a geologist, you're automatically getting involved in projects, planning things, thinking through things. And I wanted to take it to the sort of next level. And it was great that Thames gave me the opportunity to train up and become a project manager. And the great thing about working in infrastructure is you get involved in some really big schemes at a really young age or early in your career. So I started delivering some multi-million-dollar projects, and it was a really good grounding. There was a lot of people around, a lot of wisdom to try and take you through and teach you things. And that's where I first got introduced to, there were some big frameworks that Thames were delivering under, because they're the biggest water utility in the UK. And they also got really heavily involved in the use of NEC contracts, which was a collaborative form of contracting. So I got exposed to that back in 97. So, swing a sandbag a long time ago. And at that stage, they had a big problem with leakage. So a third of all the water they were treating was leaking out of the pipes because they were about 200 years old in London. I sat with a team and we put together a solution to try and overcome this. And that was figuring out why they weren't getting funded to go and replace the mains because they were just patching repairs, 80,000 repairs to the network every single year. And once we figured out a solution, it was basically things would be getting miscoded, and we figured out a solution that we took to the regulator and we took to the financial teams and recommended how we should be working, was to go and replace 10% of London's network, because we did a bit of work that identified in about 20 years it was going to be a catastrophic failure of the London distribution system, which I don't think you could probably really have happen as a good thing to go and do.
Not ideal.
No, not in anyone's book. So anyway, we put this thing together, and so it became the London Victorian Mains Replacement Programme. That's a tough one to go and say, but the whole plan was to replace, let's say, over a 5-year period, 10% of London's network. Now, at the time, Thames were really disliked in London for the amount of repairs and the way they operated and engaged with local authorities and other supply chain members and contractors. It was a tough old place, the amount of work to go and do. So the plan that we put in place was a collaborative approach, building a big program of teams. So to regionalise the teams, covering North London, South London, each had their own area to operate in, so they could get to know the location, get to know the operational staff, get to know the local authorities in the area. We really had to get strong relationships with the police, the ambulance, and all the other groups that were involved. And we took Thames from being in a position where they were really hated for the work they were doing. The authorities were coming to us and asking us to come and work in their areas, because we would actually publish a map of London looking forward for 5 years, saying which street we were going to do in which week. So people actually started taking holidays based upon when we were going to be in their street.
Oh,
so
that's clever.
Yeah, so it was really thought that far out in advance.
Why were they hated? I need to know.
Because you're digging up so many streets.
Oh, yeah.
It was roadworks everywhere. And if you go around, drive around London, the amount of traffic. Yeah, exactly. You're exactly right. So it was not like the amount of work that was being done.
Okay.
So anyway, this solution was to be planned, to work proactively, to engage with the local communities, to liaise with the authorities, so whether it's police and ambulance, to really plan out dynamically how we were going to be working. And Thames Water ended up 7 years ahead of their leakage target because the programme was so effective, actually really targeted the bad areas of London. And it was not an easy place to go. Well, I mean, the first area we did, I don't know if you know London well, was High Holborn. Yeah, okay. And that's where you've got the chambers for all the lawyers that are in the middle of London. Oh, you had a lot of... don't
want anything to go wrong there.
No, I know. That's exactly it. It wasn't me. And there was a lot, there's a lot of media. I think Sky had their headquarters there. And actually, Ofwat, the regulator, had their office there. So the first patch we did, and these were kilometre square areas of London we were choosing to do, replace everything in that area, was the start of working, for me, in a way, on a programme, in a collaborative manner, engaging with local authorities, engaging with communities, and then really setting a vision for where teams should go and how people should behave when working together. And, it became such a success. People were really wanted to be on the programme, wanted to be part of it. And other, utilities around the UK went and replicated it because it worked so well. And, it was a terrific time. Really enjoyed what I was doing there. And, but I feel like all God's children need travelling shoes. So, and, time in the army, time in Africa and around. Yeah. So, I put I actually put my CV on. And this is going to take us back a bit on monster.com.
Oh, I remember Monster.
Yeah, there you go. That's your recruiters. Yeah. So I stuck my CV on Monster and just thought I'll have a look and see what's around. Got a chance a couple of places like the US and Canada. But one came up with a consultancy in Australia and chatting to my family, they went, okay, let's go to Australia. And that was 2007. And the company was Stantec and they were MWH at the time. And again, I came from an environment that was working in a collaborative way on big infrastructure schemes to Australia where it was a boom at the time. The amount of infrastructure work in 2007 was phenomenal. People were really putting together big schemes. Alliances were the basic way of operating. Everyone was working in an alliance. And so I thought, I'm going to be comfortable here. I understand this. So talking to clients, discussing program management, what I came to realize was actually program delivery wasn't really well known here at the time. So when I taught programs, which is get lots of projects and figure out a programmatic sequence way of delivering, that wasn't the norm here. What I basically did was grabbed a lot of projects, put a bit into one big bundle and said, that's a program, go and deliver it. So it's just like just bundling up and making a big project, basically.
Yeah, okay.
And so it's tough old things selling program management, but things, started to gradually move forwards. I had some great engagement. I was working all across Asia Pacific, to be honest with you. So, I was up into India, getting into the Philippines and getting around, through the rest of Asia and getting across into WA with Water Corporation, down into Adelaide. And not only working in the water sector, and it did stuff with Sydney Water and up here in Queensland with utilities and working with Gold Coast City Council and a few others and SEQ Water. But we also got the opportunity because there was 2011 was a bit of a big year. I don't know if you remember the flooding.
Yep.
Yeah. So there was a lot of flooding in 2011. And so
it was my birthday.
Oh,
I
really?
remember when that flooded and I had to go home and I was like, what a boring birthday. So I do remember.
Well, yeah. So that was where the transport sector, so the Department of Transport and Main Roads were really forward thinking because they recognised the scale of what's happened. They had the natural disaster relief and recovery.
Was that the Transport Network Reconstruction Program?
That's right.
Part of that.
Yeah.
For that.
So I took a team into doing the Fitzroy region.
Yep.
And again, it was all about, DTMR were really, really open and engaging. They co-located us with their own teams so we could work together. So I structured up the program to be able to bring contractors in. And we ended up with a really fast-paced, a really efficient way of operating and delivering, so much so that we really grew the volume of work that we were able to go and achieve. And so the Fitzroy region was really held up as an outstanding performer in the region. So that was a delight to be able to be working with a client as a contractor and consultant at the time with the contractors, and everyone lent in. When there's a disaster and there's a problem, everyone seems to come together to solve a problem. And that's where working collaboratively continued to be able to move on. But at the same time as that was when the Christchurch earthquake happened, 2011. Yes. So again, I worked over there in the same sort of time period, setting up a team in Christchurch, a couple of hundred, to go and work on disaster recovery. And we had the client was Vero at the time, and the guy Jimmy Higgins was the leader from Vero. And again, he was phenomenal in terms of his vision to say, we need you to be part of us. We need you to be into the team here working with us. Co-located again. We sat down with our contractors, with our supply chain, with the local authority, and ended up with a really high efficiency, really well-paced delivery that we had. We even had connecting out to teams in Scotland. So we collect data in New Zealand, send it to Scotland where we get data processed overnight, and then we come back with the figures the next day to be able to present to people and say, this is what it will cost to go and rebuild your house and what have you. So again, collaboration, working together really did give some great efficiencies. People really enjoyed what they were doing and things were going so fast paced. So things then did start to pick up in the program management space, which is lovely. And a couple of other roles after that. As a global role was program leader for Hatch. Well, they pivoted direction, what I wanted to do as a business. And that was at the time when Sydney Water reached out and said, look, we've got a program that we're delivering. And I think it was targeted to deliver about 4 billion over 5 years. And they said, this thing is, it's been set up as a program, but we're struggling because it's only delivering about a quarter of what we needed it to go and deliver in its first year. So Kevin Young, again, you need really great visionaries in the right positions at the right time for these things to work. So Kevin, his vision was, we need this fixed. We've seen you doing some other things. Can you come on board and help us turn this around? And so hats off to him and Paul Plowman as well, who was a general manager in there at the time. They really gave me the bandwidth and the freedom and the ability to then go and change the program. And I saw pretty quickly what was wrong and how to turn things around. The internal and external project management teams really did not like each other. First couple of people I spoke to, they sat at the same table for a year, didn't even know each other's name because they were from different companies.
Yeah, okay.
That's a tough old environment.
Weird.
Yeah, I know. It's a really weird.
For
tough,
a year?
Yeah, for a whole year.
Yeah,
so it was a tough place. And the contractors that were all working there, the way things were structured was that it was still in the old, even though it was trying to be delivered as a program, it was being packaged up in the old way of get one project, give it to you, you give me a price, I'll check it back. But they were all, part of the way the contract was set up, they all had to go and bid on every single project. So we were getting ridiculous prices coming back. If you weren't interested in a job as a contractor, you wouldn't put any effort in. You'd just give your number, hope it goes away. And someone was really keen would give really amazingly keen numbers. Small companies that wanted to grow, but then they got too much work and they couldn't cope with what they were trying to deliver.
Yeah.
So a lot of that, restructured it to take it away from being everyone bids on everything. Again, a bit like the London thing. There's a theme that's going to come here. Put them into regions, so made them incumbent within a region. And the premise was, this is yours to lose. This is your patch of City Waters Net area. You work in this area. You give us good KPIs, good results. You engage with the community. You work well with our operations teams and deliver effectively. And we are going to continue awarding work. So we managed to move it from having to go and bid on every individual thing to being able to do. And this is quite, again, forward thinking. And as I say, hats off to the Sydney Water exec and Treasury and IPAR as well to come to that. But they accepted for us to be able to go and do direct negotiation for projects up to about $100 million. So you could actually talk to a team in a region for $100 million and be able to come to an agreement on what the way that you should be delivering and what the price should be and the timescale to go and deliver it. So it was an amazing switch in terms of how moving from adversarial behaviours to getting teams that were on board. We gave them a vision, where we're going, what we're trying to achieve, spoke to the contractors, gave them a full 2-year look ahead of exactly what we were looking to go and deliver and what they would be expected to go and deliver. So prepare yourselves, look forward for those 2 years, get your teams lined up and be able to work effectively with us to go and deliver this infrastructure. And we became, I think it was something like we were delivering 750 million a year at the time, and we became about 15% more efficient each year. So we ended up in a position of being able to deliver, I think the next year we hit the capital program for the first time in the company's history, hit the program every single year, even though it was doubling every year, still managed to hit. So for 4 years in a row, absolutely smashed it. And hats off to the whole team, all the contractors, all the consultants that were involved, all the internal project management teams. And the big change was getting the wider business to get involved. So things like the communications teams, the procurement teams, the finance, actually got them to come, instead of being a police force that sit on the outside and give a yes or a no, marking your homework. Yeah. We actually got them involved and said, look, instead of saying, computer says no and rejecting something that we pass up to them, why don't you come in and be part of the team, be part of the whole delivery organisation and actually help us build from the start. If we want to put a particular contract together, if we want to estimate something, why don't you work with us to get it right first time? So we're not doing a load of work, then you're doing a load of work, then it's coming back to us to go and check again. So we just stripped out so much waste. And the teams got, from the enterprise part of the business got so enthused and enjoying what they were doing that they had to start rotating staff because other people were going, I want to be part of it. I want to have a go. I want to get involved. And so it was a really, really great atmosphere that was built. Again, we went from it being a pretty tough environment, people not really enjoying it, to a lot of companies do these employee pulse checks every month, whatever. So we were topping that for the company every year, all the way for 4 years. I look at it as one of my most fun times I've ever had working. It was such a great place. And actually, when I went there, people a lot of people were not sure that I'd last because quite maverick, looking out there, looking off into the distance. I look a long way off. And then so I see a vision, and quite often it can be difficult for others to come on that journey with you unless you paint that picture. But having the support of Kevin was phenomenal. So it really drove things forward. And that was a terrific 4 years. In the middle of that 4 years, I also looked at, again, this is the looking forward bit, is where I saw that the scale of work that was going to be coming towards this pipeline was even bigger, was about 10 billion over a period of 5 years, which has grown to now 35 billion over 10 years. So things are really, really ramping up on the city waterfront. But I looked at that at midterm during still trying to turn this thing around, get the new processes in place, get the business operating and running, even though it was doing really well. And so I started to architect the next iteration of the delivery framework that we put in place. And over 2 years, we got it structured, we got it engaged with Treasury and again with IPART. So we really did engage. We went and told everybody what we're looking to go and do. All the auditors that would come and inspect us and have a look at what we're doing. We're really open in sharing all the information that we were doing. Partnering for Success was the next iteration of the framework. So it pretty much took the previous one, which was performance partnering, and took it to the next level. And that was really about putting a whole suite of contracts in place that were designed around each region. So we had 3 regions in Sydney, north, west and south. Haven't got an east because it's the sea. So we had each of these 3 regions, and there was a framework contract for a regional consortia that would look after each region. And we expanded it to be not just building, they would do all design, all construction, all maintenance as well. So you put that all into one consortia and bolted on facilities management as well. So basically they were the one-stop shop for each of the regions. And again, the vision there was to say, these are 10-year engagements. We want you to be our partners for 10 years delivering in these regions. Work with us. Here's the vision. Here's the 5-year program, pretty solid, and another 5-year vision. Again, we get the results we need, we get the pace we need, we get the delivery that we need, the safety in the right sort of place. Because it's not all just about the money. You've got to be looking after, City Water's 3 elements of the business plan to be a successful business, 1. Number 2, look after the environment, and 3, protect public health. That's why they're there. That's their job. So you need to make sure that all of the metrics and measures that you're putting in place speak to your business, understand why you're delivering. So it isn't necessarily all just about the money. You've got to make sure safety is being looked after. You've got to make sure the environment is being cared for. You've got to make sure the local community being catered for in terms of the work you're doing. You can't just turn up and run roughshod over and do whatever you feel like. There's ways and means of doing things. So we put this entire framework together, and not only were these the collaborative frameworks put in place to go and give some surety to the contractors about how to, they're there and they've got a 10-year gig, but we built into it, and this was the first real major use of something called NEC contracts.
Yeah, what is NEC contracts? You mentioned it a couple of times.
Yeah, so it's the new engineering contract.
Okay.
So it's about 35 years old, so it's really not that new anymore. So,
new for engineering.
yeah, that is in the engineering book. Yeah, you're dead right. And I'll say I was using it back in 97 when it was NEC 3, and now it's on NEC version 4. And so we made the decision and said, look, I'm used to working with that, it's got a clause in there that it used to be 10.1, but anyway, if you're a lawyer and stuff, it's now 10.2. It says everyone will work in a spirit of mutual trust and cooperation. That's a line in a contract that says that is how you will work. And that 10.1 is right at the front of the contract. I don't know why it's called 10, but anyway, it's there right up front. And the contracts are written in plain English. They're designed so that anybody can read them, because a lot of contracts are tough. And you try and read them, and you need a lawyer. And you need people to help you to understand a lot of contracts. With the NEC, it's written in plain English. Even I can understand it, so it's got to be good. So you can read these things, And they're painted out because they're a standard contract. So the way that we structured it was that you had the overall framework, and then there's basically, really, there's 7 choices that you can use. You know, fixed lump sum, target cost, or do and charge, and then ranges in between. And we agreed all of those forms of contract up front with all of the contractors, and we rolled it down to the lower supply chain as well. So we said, the 3 regional consortia, we expect you to deliver 70% self-perform. What you can't, you need to go to a supply chain that you've all together, and again, this is partnership coming in, that you've all together vetted. So if one says that this contractor is good enough to be a subcontractor, they're good enough for everybody. So everybody goes and uses them. So they all had to agree to some method to go and assess contractors to bring them onto the framework. So they all did. So now we had 3 regional consortia, and the consortias, each of them have got 4 to 5 companies in there. So they all had to get their governance aligned to agree. But once you got those, and it's tough getting those first building blocks in place, but once you've done it, it just flows. It's just like turning on a tap and the water just keeps flowing.
No pun intended.
No. Well done, you. So yeah. So the thing just kept on, was able to keep flowing. So, you know, someone looked at another contractor, you didn't have to ask a question anymore. Everyone's already agreed. We trust you. You've done your due diligence. They're going to be good enough to be on the program. So that's how things structured and worked. And we, you know, when we first kicked the thing off, our first 2 weeks was, we awarded in December, and we didn't expect them to start working until the 1st of July. So we gave each of the consortia 6 months to get ready. So none of this, go and procure now, quickly go and start, and you're all running around trying to build the ship and sail the ship at the same time. Just get the thing sorted out. The other program's still delivering. So let's get this sorted, get it all aligned. So we managed to get everything tidy, because I like tidy. I like a mess, but because I like tidying up a mess. But that's a different game. So anyway, so got the whole thing tidy. But the first 2 weeks, we called it discovery. And basically, it was each of the consortia coming together for whether it's safety, whether it's project delivery, whether it's tools and processes and systems. They all shared what they'd put into their proposal for their region and what their solution was for their region. So then the other consortia, if they saw something that was better, they could use it. And so, that came from the old competition sort of world. Suddenly, now everyone's sharing. So we get best practice across all of them. We'd structured it so that city water staff, whether it's estimating and comms or what have you, were all embedded together with the regional consortia within each region. And the magic of that was the thing about not repeating work again. So that the estimating teams, for example, if they're putting together the estimate for a project, instead of the old world is contractor produces a number, passes it to the client's team go away for a few weeks or whatever to look at the number, pass it back to the contractor with comments. They then go and have another hack at it.
I'm tired already.
I'm not surprised. How long have we been going? So we said, look, just build it once together. So you've got your data, we've got our data, we can work on that. And the city water data becomes so enriched by the data that they're collating already, because the region could sort everything was open book. So whatever it costs to go and do any job, we'd get all the data, feed it back in, so then we can be tighter and more aligned on the next price for the next project. And because City Water held this data centrally, we could be the competition between each of the consortia as well, because we could see if one consortia is managing to do something better and different in their region, then we could poke the other consortium and say, well, why aren't you being able to do it quite as well as them? Here's the data, here's the league table, because we, from the previous framework, the performance partnering, we had we had league tables in terms of KPIs that we published. So everything was open. And that was a bit confronting right at the beginning.
Yeah.
Who wants to be the GM once a month coming in to see the client and you're the bottom of the league table? Not the place to go and be.
No.
But the league tables are very, very clear, and it was measured by everyone in the team, even the admin staff, finance staff, everybody had it in their performance plans that once a month at least for them, project managers would be expected to be out on site a couple of times, 3 times a week. But the other support staff, we gave them once, or some of them twice a month. They had to put on their high vis and they loved it. Stick it on a hard hat. Normally you sat there at the reception desk doing your job, never really seeing what's getting built and constructed and what projects are really meaning. You're part of something, but you don't really get to see it. So they were putting on the hard hats and getting out there and actually being part of the success. So they could look at a project. We gave them crib sheets to look at. And it was all done on an iPhone, actually. So it was 20 questions. And they could, and there was pictures on there to show them what good and bad looks like. So they could go out and give them a score. How's the safety looking? How's the community board looking? Is it up to date? Is the fencing, said fencing around the site looking good for the environment? So they absolutely adored being able to be, we're now part of deciding how well people are doing in a region and how we're operating and the success of the entire scheme. They were actually part of it. So they were bought into this to being the scheme being successful, City Water being successful, being able to deliver for the customers and being able to work in a way that actually you enjoy coming to work. Instead of coming to work in an adversarial way, they were turning up and being part of making something better and part of bringing solutions instead of bringing problems. And it was just a lovely environment, just see how everybody got involved. And I think the contractors, the simplicity of the entire program, because all those contracts were all agreed up front. And again, this is something I think that, there are a few clients that are now starting to look at this and think, okay, perhaps standardized contracts can be a way of doing something, because with these consortia now, there's no discussing terms and conditions because that's all done. All you have to do is give them a scope of work and then you decide on where risk allocation goes, and then the estimating teams figure out a price and you're done. Away you go. So again, projects up to $100 million now being direct negotiated in that way with a regional consortia, it is so fast.
Is it possible for infrastructure to do that? Because, I'm curious about that, because you tend to find in the infrastructure, like even now with all the shortlisting processes that are going on all the joint ventures and consortiums going for all these different projects, you see a lot of companies might be in a couple of different consortia. They're shortlisted, there's ECI, there's all these phases to try and then, a lot of the qualms contractors come back and go, well, it's just decided on price. So that's a lot of them feel like at the end of the day that the pricing is holding the weight. So my question is, can that be applied to transport as an example?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, City Water did pipes, transport do roads. They're exactly the same thing. It's just infrastructure. And, I'm working with APA at the moment. So they're working through an ECI process. And they've built into it that actually, they're using a balanced scorecard when they're doing their assessment of ECI. So it's 50% price, 50% non-price. So it's an equal balance.
Yeah.
And then you can, they call it a price quality matrix.
Okay.
So basically, you can get a graph and you can decide do I want to pay more money for better quality, or do I want to pay less money but I'll get less quality, or do I fancy a bit more quality and actually they're a little bit cheaper than the other ones for the same sort of level of quality. It's a really...
So what is it? Like, how does that
price quality matrix, that's it. Yeah.
And so you're looking at the price, but in the context of, okay, so this might be a bit cheaper, but the quality's dropped here. This might be more expensive for this. And is it, just so I understand it, is it one, so for instance, if someone's pricing it, do they give a matrix of different options, or like how does it work?
Well, you can come back to them with requests.
Okay.
You can say, okay, actually, we're happy to drop a bit of quality. What would your price move down to?
That's funny. And we're happy to just drop the standards because we want it a bit cheaper. But no, I know what you mean.
But it can be like, instead of gold taps, we'll go for stainless steel.
I did a bitumen over asphalt driveway. I get it. I looked at it and I was like, asphalt's really expensive. Can you give me, maybe a couple of seals as opposed to the full asphalt driveway? So I get it.
Yeah, that's exactly the sort of thing. So you can work, and again, that's exposing you to being engaging and collaborating, because you can choose what you want to be prioritizing. And so this way, with, like I say, with APA at the moment, so they're 50-50, price and quality. But the really interesting part is, because they're working their way through an ECI at the moment, they've actually included behavioural scoring through the ECI process.
That's part of that 50% that's non-price.
Correct.
Tell me more about that.
Yeah. So that's the... So, I mean, this sort of goes back to how we were putting together when I was in the Partnering for Success at Sydney Water. We really wanted it to be about collaboration. We really wanted it to be about partnership, and we wanted to expose, back in the alliancing days, there was behaviours were measured as part of the assessment of the alliance process, but it was pretty much done over 1 or 2 workshops. So there was
measure the behaviours for the Interesting.
So imagine, so every contracting team would hire a coach. That would coach everybody an incident for weeks in advance. And I was part of teams that were coached in exactly the same way. And it was an industry coaching them how to behave. And so you turn up and the show's on, you're in there, you're trained, for example, if a client asks a question, how many people should answer? No more than 3. No more than 3 bounces of a question. Otherwise you're labouring it. That is, really tying down. You might have had a brilliant thing you were going to say, but you've done 3, let's not labour the point. So those sort of things were built into the process, giving away trade secrets and stuff there. But they got built in. So when we were putting together P4S, Sydney Water, we still wanted it to have that element of behaviour being measured. But we had a process, and it was an ECI program, and because it's such a big program, it was aiming to be about 10 billion. We wanted to make sure the process was robust enough that we'd really find out the true people, because you can't fake it forever. No. And so we put in place an approach where I think it was something like about 6 to 8 weeks of an ECI process. They were given a bunch of projects, probably about 15 projects to go and price. Because it was going to be a big program. So show us how you'd work on pricing, show us how you engage, see how you work with our engineering teams to develop up the projects and get a price. But equally, we had other workshops. They weren't focused on behaviours. They were focused on problems and solving issues. How does the org structure come together? How does it operate and function? How do we deal with operational maintenance issues? How will you structure your teams? How will they flow and operate? How will your health and safety teams operate? What will happen from the customer care situation? But underlying all of that was a measure of behaviours. And so I had a team of organisational psychologists that would sit through every single one of those workshops. So we had 5 teams that we were taking through the process, so 5 consortia for 3 spots. And so we had a workshop every single day, one with each of those. And one team got dropped out after 3 or 4 weeks. Not quite up to it.
Yeah.
So, and that was the thing. We could say, look, we really don't think your team's going to be able to make it effectively through here. Let's not waste your money or our money. Let's just cut it down to 4. And, it's a sensible thing to go and do.
Yeah.
But the org psychs, and that's the thing, never look them in the eye because they got you.
They got you figured out.
Yeah, that's exactly it. But they would sit through each of them, not engage with anybody. That's their job, just sit at the back. And so, we gave them a steer of who to be monitoring as a particular leader of a particular team. Extra deep dive on that, but they would take a full assessment. Everyone had their name badges on, so they knew who they were marking and scoring and looking at. So at the end of every session, they would be able to pull together a score that was independent. It wasn't whether I liked somebody or not. They were doing a fully professional, independent assessment of their demeanour and how well they would be able to fit into a collaborative environment and how well they were engaging and working with us.
And did they work on looking at the behaviours that correlated to better performance or more collaborative? Okay, so they would define from the collaborative contracting model a defined set of behaviours that they were looking to measure in leadership, and then analyse them. Oh, yeah, okay.
And then that tied in with Sydney Water values. So they built all of that into the assessment as well. What does Sydney Water expect to see? What are the behaviours Sydney Water expects? And equally, did look at us as well. So if we weren't quite right, they'd give feedback on us.
Yeah.
So that was pretty good fun as well. So you're there doing a procurement process, getting feedback on how you're behaving. So it's pretty cool.
It's good. It's almost like a live 360, right?
Yeah,
Like, because really, a lot of the time, the people only get feedback on their behaviour from, and still, like, if you've got somebody that is doing a 360 on you, there's still a level of subjectivity around, there's a lot of extra baggage that comes into a 360 when you're looking at someone's leadership performance. It's, did you give them a bad pay review? Did you pull them up on poor performance and now they're saying you're a bad leader? Well, really, you might not be. Or do they love you and you're fantastic, but you're not necessarily doing the behaviours that drive outcome? Yeah. Whereas if you have an org psychologist, they are looking subjectively at the behaviours you exhibit and demonstrate that align with.
And it's independent.
We can do that in Queensland for all this transport work that's, I don't know if we already are, but that's going to be.
We're trying to introduce it. I was working with Queensland Health. So, whether it's a good thing or bad thing, is when I was part of the capacity expansion program. The intent there, the team that were leading that within the program, they had a really good vision. They wanted to get something that was moving towards being a collaborative way of operating and working. I don't think everything was quite in the right place at the right time to be doing that. But for the Queensland Cancer Centre, we'd put together, they were working through, it was quite a long ECI process. But we'd put in place, again, org psychs to be monitoring specific sessions during the, because this was a long one. This was co-located for months, developing up the price. So it wasn't like 6 weeks, get through a few sessions. This was over a 6 to 8 month period. So they would come into selected sessions. They would also have free rein to walk around any of the offices and just observe and see how people were behaving. And again, where this was going to be, for City Water, it was 25% of the overall mark. So at the end of the day, how they operated and performed and their behaviour to work within a collaborative environment, their ability to perform at high performance. So all of that was being measured by these psychs. And so it was a phenomenal thing. So we had, so there was that 50% price, then 25% was about your behaviours and your capability as a team to work collaboratively. And then the other part was, your community safety, all these sort of bits and pieces that would come together as a quality element. And it was a similar thing for the QCC. And that was really exposing things. And the great thing about it is that you could use the results that were coming from the org psychs to be able to steer the team. So you could, instead of having a team that's really struggling and continuing to struggle, you've actually got some real data points you can go and share with them. Say, we think you need to do this. You probably need to maybe look at coaching that person or change that person. Because at the end of the day, going through a procurement process like that, there's no point in getting to the end of procurement and going, I didn't quite get what I wanted, but I got something. Get what you want, get what you're after, get what you're really striving for or aiming for. If you want something that is defined and you understand with clarity what you're trying to achieve, perhaps you haven't articulated it perfectly. And that's what happens with a lot of traditional procurement. You put out your tender, everyone reads it, they go to a briefing, they think they understand it, then they write a response. I've sat there plenty of times looking at the other end going, I totally misunderstood what we wrote. And you get back something that doesn't actually match at all what you want. Put your tender out there, you're up against time, so you've got to reward it to someone. Yeah. So you end up in this, crazy situation where you got rushed into that award and then you start trying to deliver, then you run into all the problems, then the behaviours start to go, then it becomes adversarial, then things start to go slow, then rework starts to happen. You could have got rid of all of that right back at the beginning by planning out effectively, doing things right at the beginning, giving yourself the space to think, first of all, because, it's like failing to plan and plan for failure and all these sort of things. Put the effort into planning, get the planning right, understand where you want to go and build that vision into your direction that you're then giving to the contractors and the supply chain that you're engaging and working with. Then you can really give them something that they can understand. And working through ECI and working through some of these other, I think, sort of mechanisms because there's competitive alliancing where you get a couple of alliance teams that look to have to work up a solution and you pick which solution works best. You know, for some things, I look at it, for example, if you're looking at trying to do, let's say if you're trying to do a metro, do you really need to, as a client, have designed everything, then give it over to a consortia to deliver? You've just taken away any sort of leverage, any idea that they could be putting into new ideas, innovation. To me, much better to say, I want to go from A to B and I'd like stations along here, give me your solution. And then you can to me, that's where alliancing should get used, is a chance to work together. And it might be competitive. You might have a couple of consortia working up on that, but you can work with them on developing a solution rather than, you know, you've wasted all the innovation. You've told them the answer and say, innovate. Well, there's nothing left to innovate. It's just going to be a little bit less concrete or a different type of concrete.
Was it hard? Is it hard? You mentioned before being a maverick, right? Like, you know, is it hard going into some of these places where they've done things a certain way for a very long time?
Yeah.
And you're sort of challenging this status quo around how to do it. Like how do you get them on board with your vision? I
think I would say Sydney Water Scheme, but then I can't because Kevin was so visionary anyway. So he was done. No, there's clients that you walk into. So you need that
first follower, or that, well, not even first follower, but you need there's the book where they talk about your guiding coalition, right? Like if you want John Cotter's book, right?
Yeah,
if you want to change, you need enough people behind the change. So you had Kevin and things like that in Sydney Water. What about now in Queensland as well?
Yeah, I mean, again, I would say the health situation, but they were, again, Priscilla, when she was leading that thing, she was directed towards, had that vision that was trying to be collaborative, whether it was a tough time, I think, in the market, with the amount of work that was out there and the Jobs for Queensland thing, I think it was 80 billion or whatever it was that was happening. It's a stack of work. So trying to get that sequenced and thought through effectively was difficult. But yeah, no, I've worked with clients in situations where sometimes they've got to be taken on a journey. And the thing is, where it feels comfortable to me working in that sort of engaging, collaborative program environment. If you haven't worked that way, it's nerve-wracking. People don't understand how much information can I share. Is it dangerous to share that sort of information?
How much is IP?
Are they going to get one over on me? All these sort of things, and it's a natural human reaction. You know, you've a lot of people have got to where they've got to from their experience of the past, and they've never tried anything else. And so, I look at it and go, try and paint pictures of, give use cases where things have worked before. So now this is where we can use good cases like how well things happened for the teams in Christchurch, how well the Fitzroy, and that's DTR, transport, they were really, really forward thinking, how that worked there, how the Sydney Water case study has managed to work and come together. But also there's global best practice that gets shared. So people probably don't know much about it here, but there's a great project. It's called Project 13, and it's from the Institute of Civil Engineers. And basically they put together an initiative that it must have been about 2015, to start to look and say, what is best practice in infrastructure delivery? And because they come out with a project every couple of years that's looking at something big, and normally they get a really sexy name. But this one was Project 13. Nobody could think of a name for it, so we went, all right, we'll just call it Project 13. So that's Project 13. So it sounds mysterious, which is pretty cool. I quite like it. And that whole thing it's a real sort of Chatham House rules environment where they've had a look around at all infrastructure schemes, and pretty much around the UK, and putting in some foreign information and ideas, but pulling together what really works well, what doesn't work well, but then they get together and discuss it openly. And so that's where the Chatham House rules need to come in, because they're really, airing a lot of dirty wash.
Trust there too.
Yeah, massive. And So Project 13 is now a blueprint for how you should be, or could be anyway, take your pick, putting an infrastructure scheme together. And it was in 2018 when, and City Water, I mean, hats off, we're being recognised around the globe. We were a Major Projects Association had recognised as one of the top 10 performing programs in the world. That was after, getting to the program, and it's only delivering a quarter of what it needed to do, and everyone has had enough of it, to being lauded globally as one of the top 10 programs.
Yeah, it's great.
Tiny little water company doing that sort of level of recognition was amazing. And that recognition came from the work we were doing in training. We gamified training. So teaching people how to be project managers. Instead of doing the death by PowerPoint, just following slides, we turned it all into games. So simulation events. We based one on the French Revolution, Le Brouhaha. So it was a big battle and Nerf guns and this sort of stuff all over the place.
Fun.
Yeah, exactly. It's really, and that's how you learn how to deliver a project.
Yeah.
And it just embedded it in a way that was fun and engaging. And so back at that time was taking Sydney Water into the Project 13 community. So there was a group called the early adopters that were the early teams that were really engaging in this way of operating and working. And when I had a look at Project 13 and the structure and format they were putting it in, I recognised that 85% of what we were doing at Sydney Water already matched it. So that's how well we'd already got to a position that was aligning with global best practice, just in terms of what we were doing as a business. So it took us on board as the only ever so far international early adopter of Project 13. So you've got a whole, you've got Heathrow Terminal 5, Sellafield Nuclear Power Plant. You've got the National Grid, the Environment Agency, all of the big groups over in the UK, and Sydney Water.
And the Olympics in Queensland.
Next.
To be continued.
Next up.
So with all this work you do in this collaboration space, right? And obviously it's clear to me that it's clearly been a passion of yours to embed this. What's the legacy that you hope to leave in the industry and with what's coming from the work that you've been doing in this space?
I think to me the sort of legacy would be people being able to look back. If you look at Sydney Water Scheme, people look at it and go, I still talk to all the team members that were or are part of it, and they're spread all over the place. There's guys over in WA that were working with me in London, and then we all still talk about how great the delivery was, how well everyone was engaging and working together, and the success that we were able to achieve. For something like something here would be able to finish in the infrastructure, and it doesn't have to be infrastructure either, it could be any sort of sector, will be in a position where you work in these areas because it's public money. So you want to feel that public money is being and because it's my money as well as your money. So it's our money that's being spent. So I want to see it spent effectively. I want to see people enjoying being at work. I want to see a maturity in the engagement between owner and contractor and consultancy. So a level of maturity there where we're treating everybody with respect and we're not trying to laud it. There's no us and them. There's no master-servant type of, I know it sounds a bit utopian, but you're trying to get into a position where, we're all professionals doing a professional job. So let's not have to try and rush and grab and get when everything's going crazy and you're desperate to go and get things and go and get people and go and get resources, that you're not getting the optimum performance that you need and you can achieve. So I'd love to see us in a position where I think I was giving evidence at the, I think it was the, there was a national, it was a, what do they call it? You probably have to cut this bit out until I get it right in my head. What do you call it? It's a Commonwealth. Yeah, that's it. So, yeah, bloody hell, Commonwealth. So I was Commonwealth. They were doing a review of best practice in terms of infrastructure delivery and public infrastructure procurement. And again, we were called up to give evidence. Normally, you go to a public inquiry and you're about to get slammed, and the lead was actually coming out and saying we would love to see what's happening here at Sydney Water taken on and adopted at other places across Australia, because this is the way that we should be taking this. And this was 6 years ago. So that's the sort of thing that would be lovely to be able to leave a legacy that would say that we're working in a way that's mature, we're setting up visions, people understand what they're doing, people feel comfortable working, you can share openly and you can engage. We're getting efficiency, we're getting the right value for things instead of either paying too much or getting poor quality. We're paying what's right, that contractors are able to be delivering and know that they're going to get a return as well. Because it's not bad for that. They should be making a profit. Otherwise,
they're making money.
Yeah. Otherwise, they're going to go
100%.
out of business.
Yeah.
So that's what, as clients, need to be able to recognise and be confident that they're not getting ripped off. They're getting the right sort of value, and that they're giving the customer, us taxpayers, at the end, the right sort of value. So, I mean, imagine something like the Olympics going fantastically well, everything being delivered. You get to 2032, and the thing is just. Everyone's screaming. Australia's come top of the medal charts. You know,
I love your utopia. But there's some things it's achievable. You know,
Yeah.
I'm a big believer that if we don't aim to be better, if we don't continually look at changing, if we just accept the status quo in whatever it is we do, then it will always be that way. You know, the whole everything improved because somebody went, this isn't good enough, or we can do this a better way.
Yeah.
So, look, I want to go into the rocket round and learn more about you as well. We have a bit of a fun round where we ask a few questions.
Well, you didn't tell me about this bit.
I never do. Where's the fun in that, Mark? The first one's coffee or wine?
Oh, Christ. Wine.
Cats or dogs?
Cats.
Wow, we have the cats.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of
My wife wants a dog. We've got 2 cats.
What is it about cats that you like? Because I see a lot of memes
Because
where
they're
cats.
easy. You don't have to do anything with them.
I see cats attacking people. My children show me cats attacking people in memes. Have you ever had a cat jump on your head or, no?
Yeah, no, that's all AI.
It's not real. Favourite holiday destination?
Probably one I haven't been to yet, which is Buenos Aires.
Oh, nice.
But Paris.
Yeah, that's where you haven't been there.
No, Paris is that's always our favourite place to go, but Buenos Aires.
Okay, nice. Podcasts and books that you listen to or consume?
Oh, crikey. Podcasts I listen to. That's a good one. There's Beyond the Plan. Which is a guy,
yeah, you were telling me about that one.
Yeah, which is pretty similar to it. It's just like different format, but it's looking in the same sort of area, trying to find ways that we can improve things and do things better. My book reading is shocking.
There's always Audible, Mark.
Oh yeah. No, but the thing is, I just spend so much time. Really, it's really with the family, and I still play a lot of football, get out and involved in sport, and it's doing golf. So most of the podcasts end up being trying to improve myself at golf. I'm bloody hopeless.
Is it working?
No, of course not. That's what I think my boys are because I think we got as far as my boys took up playing golf earlier this year. And so now we've got a family competition. So the Simister Invitational, and the youngest one won it first because we play it every quarter. First one won it first quarter. I won it second quarter, and now my young, the middle boy, and he got it by one stroke. And I mean, come on, this is not good. I've been playing for 40 years.
It's a bad time to tell you. I went to a Queensland transport event, and one of my clients invited me on their team, and I got nearest to par.
Oh, really?
Never played golf before. And it was very funny because people were like, do you play golf? I'm like, no. So you can sometimes have that lucky fluke.
There you go.
At that time.
Well, that's it. Well, it's watching your youth, and you just go, oh my God, they're so much better already.
But see, then I thought that I would be a golfer, and then it just didn't happen. Like, it was just a fluky thing. I was like, maybe I've got this natural gift.
Was it wine took over?
Was there wine involved? Well, maybe. Look, I think I didn't ask you my favourite question, which is really interesting, is what makes you feel like you're home?
What makes me feel like I'm home? Well, being in Australia now and being a citizen totally feels like home. Even I found myself the other day, it was Australia versus England in football, and I was actually on Australia's side.
Oh,
so there's something has happened.
Yeah,
it's like, blimey.
You converted. We've got you now.
I really love it. I mean, it's the whole culture about the place, and that's why I found it so difficult to understand why, collaborative delivery and collaborative contracting isn't just natural here because everyone works together. It's a culture and environment. It's all about mateship and all about, you need to lean in if resources and whatever are scarce, you pull together and you work together, and it's that spirit of collaboration that's built in. That's why we came to Australia in the first place. It's just naturally fitted with the way that I enjoy spending my life. Being able to get to the beach, it naturally drags you outdoors to go and do stuff.
Oh, it's so great, isn't it?
Yeah. And so, but if I really thought about and that's where it comes into the long-winded way of saying is having a beer and a barbie.
Yeah.
That's what makes me feel like I'm at home. Sat outside in the back garden, and we live near the bush as well anyway, so it's lovely. Sitting out there, looking over the bush, echidnas walking through.
Oh, cool.
And
we have kangaroos I've lived on a farm. So like for me, it's I love just getting outside, sitting beside my dam and just watching the dogs chase the goats and just like simple life.
I'm with you.
It's great about Australia.
Yeah.
It is. It is. We just can have so much time to enjoy the outdoors and connect with nature.
Spot on.
And it's and that's why everybody should move to Queensland as well, because we have great weather, and I bang on about this all the time, but you honestly just don't know what you're missing out on until you come to Queensland.
I'm with you.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Delighted.
It was really interesting.
Thanks, Lauren.
Unpacking it, and I think there's a lot of lessons going forward that we can implement and look at in the industry. How can people connect with you and learn more about what you do?
Go to our company website, so Metapic, METAPHIC.
Good that you can spell.
I had to really think about that. So metapic.com.au or mark.simister@metapic.com.au, or even phone me.
Yeah, I love it. And they can connect with you on LinkedIn, I'm sure, as well.
Oh, and LinkedIn, yeah, of course.
Yeah. Amazing. Thank you so much for coming as guest. As always, like, share, subscribe, rate, review, and do feel free to reach out to Mark. We often have guests tell me that people personally reach out to them after they get something from the episode. Do that, because like everyone gets a little bit chuffed if they get a personal message.
Yeah.
So it's nice to know that something had an impact.
Someone watched it.
Yeah. And it's also nice to know that I'm not just recording into the abyss. So thank you so much. And thanks for listening. If this episode gave you new insights, don't let them go to waste. Take action, apply them. And if you want more insider strategies from the best in construction and infrastructure, make sure to subscribe. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. And remember, the leaders who open the most doors aren't waiting for opportunities, they're building them.